P2 in race 2 at Silverstone, you're still leading the championship, and you made a couple of good moves out there around the outside of the stone. How would you assess the race?
Yeah, it's a pretty good race for me. Obviously starting P10, that was always going to be very tricky. But yeah, to pick up another podium, especially a P2 as well, from where we started, it was such a good race. You know, we myself, JHR, we put the car on in the right parts of the track. You know, I just did what I needed to do, and I was finding the dry bits and making sure that I was on the grippiest parts of the track, and that was why I ended up, you know, obviously making these moves. And you know, you've got to be adaptable in these conditions, and that's where I normally come into my own a bit. So yeah, really happy with it.
The move around the outside at Stowe, the two cars, is pretty impressive. Did you have that lined up for the previous couple of laps?
Well, I knew it was dry on the outside because that was the line I'd been doing every lap. So it actually was literally just my normal racing line. Literally just my normal racing line. So yeah, it was. You know, I saw them both. They're on the wet on the inside of the track. So I was just like, well, in that case, I'll just go on the outside because it's drier and I've got more grip. So, and I knew it was quicker anyway. So I just let them defend, and I just basically picked up the pieces after it. So yeah, it was exactly what I wanted.
And of course, it was wet yesterday. So could you pick up anything there for where the grip might be today?
Obviously, you've got wet lines and stuff like that, but it was more on the green flag lap, just looking at where the dry parts were and where other cars had been as well. You know, I was just looking around on the green flag lap, trying to find all the grip I could. Obviously, we all went out on new tyres as well, so that's always going to be very tricky to get them in. But luckily, I got my tyres in really, really well. Got my tyres basically fully in before the race start, and that was something that not many people could do. And that was what gave us an advantage off the start as well. Obviously, we were up into P7 before we got to turn 1, so yeah, it was just, I just did everything right pretty much. There was nothing that I really could have done better. You know, I optimised everything I could have, and I think our pace was pretty strong too.
And what's it like managing the Pirelli tyres up there? Is it tricky to get them up to temperature, and does your experience on Pirellis in British F4 give you an advantage?
Obviously, I know how the tyre works. I know how to get it in. So that's always been a strong point of mine. I spent the whole of pre-season being attacked for how much Matt got his tyres in, and I'd always take that extra lap. And I knew that if there was any race that I needed to get them in properly, it was now. Because we're going out on fresh rubber. You've got to try and scrub them in and everything as well. And normally that'll take 2-3 laps. We had one today, so it was always going to be very, very tricky. But we managed to do it well, and I think that was what one of the key advantages was for me.
Because we saw Dunn and Bennett come together at Brooklands, and Bennett seems a bit worried about celebrating the race. What's your take on that incident?
I haven't seen it personally, so I can't comment on it. Obviously, I'm still happy with P2. I'll be even happy with P1. So, if he gets a penalty, I don't know what. I don't know. I can't comment on it. I haven't seen it, so I just have to wait for what the stewards say.
And what are you expecting from the reverse grid?
It's going to be tricky. Obviously, I can't remember where we're starting, but it's obviously going to be quite far back. So, but yeah, we'll see what we can do. I think it maybe is like P15 or something. So, we'll see what we can do. It'll be tricky, but I've just gained however many places it was then. So, if I can do the same again, that's another big amount of points, and I can be pretty happy with the amount of pace we've got as well. So, it's not going to be as easy because it should be full dry, so it'll be harder to follow things like that. But I think if we can go by anything from race 2, I think we'll be on a charge.
And just one more question from me: you're leading the championship? Is that a different pressure to what you experienced in British F4 when you weren't leading the championship so much?
Obviously, you've got it on your mind. It's something that you're always going to think about because at the end of the day, you're here to win. But if we're just picking up these sort of results every single time, nobody will be able to catch us. So, it's one of those where we just have to go into each race just trying to optimise everything we can. Obviously, we have to have some sense of caution now that we're in the lead, and especially with the big gap that I've got now. But at the same time, I have to be. I can't just be, throwing myself up the inside, risking everything, because I won't win a championship like that, and I know this, and I have won championships before, just not in a single season. So, it's going to be tricky to win a championship, especially in a grid like this, but we're starting off the right way, and we'll see how we can carry it on throughout the rest of the year.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon.